Are we good?
We are recording.
Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show. This is a very, very special in-person bonus episode, and we have our first repeat guest, someone that all of you very much know and like, and he's back again, and we had a lot of fun. So this was actually streamed live.
This was streamed on Tom Storey's main channel, and we are such idiots at YouTube that we couldn't figure out how to get it onto the podcast.
By the way, you know what I think I realized? If you haven't subscribed yet, we need 1,000 subscribers on the podcast channel to be able to live stream. I actually think that might be a thing. Is that a thing?
I don't know if that's it.
We're saying that's a thing.
That's definitely the thing. So please make sure to subscribe, click the like button, and enjoy our bonus content. And don't worry, this Sunday there will be a new episode coming out as regularly scheduled. And if you want to go back and read how was entertaining chat,
It was fun
on Tom's channel, you can view this there as well. But before I do, the other thing I screwed up was our video and who's bringing you this video today, which is Masters Academy. This is an in-person event for real estate agents. It's being held November 14th and 15th in Northern Toronto, hosted by Richard Robbins International. Both myself and Tom will be there. Tom, tell me what you like about this.
I've been to probably between Toronto and Vancouver, 14 or 15 of these events. I love it. In terms of my real estate career, there's nothing that has propelled it more than this company. And I truly mean that. If you watch or listen to this podcast and you're a real estate agent in Canada, there is no better place for you to be in the entire world on November 14th or 15th than at this conference, Masters Academy. You're going to take away so much value. And the cool thing too is, Steve, our viewers and listeners are going to get a discount.
They are using the link down below in the description. You can save $200 off of your ticket right now. And then apparently, if you listen to our other episodes, Tom will take a picture with you while we're there.
Sounds good. Me and Steve will be there in person, and it's in person, by the way.
It is in person. You will get to see how chubby I am in real life. And I think we should get on to the episode.
You know what people normally say to me? They go, "You're shorter than we thought you'd be."
They usually say, "Wow, I didn't believe how big you were." That's what I get. Anyway, on to a bonus episode. Wait, what are we doing here? Use the link down below. Save $200. Masters Academy, November 14th and 15th. And now, on to the show.
On to the show.
Bah, bah.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
And we have a guest. Let's go on to it.
We do.
What's your name again?
He's a new YouTuber. He's a small startup YouTuber.
Small guy?
Yeah.
Never seen him around before?
I'm just curious if that's the best real estate conference in the country that you guys are going to on November 14th. What am I going to tomorrow?
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, you know what's cool actually about the one tomorrow is I never publicly sold tickets because it sold out privately.
Super fast.
Super fast. Yeah. So
I had to offer to speak just to get a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, tomorrow will be fun. But I guess, Nolan, welcome to Toronto.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to be here. What a cool place you live in. Walking down the street here, it seems like you're in New York City.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this existed.
Well, it's kind of cool too. And I was telling you when you came in, the property that we're in right now, I bought this as an investment in 2017. And it was strictly just based on because it was it's a freehold townhouse. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, freehold townhouses don't exist really downtown Toronto. I can walk to everything. It's a house downtown, which rarely exists.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I think he was trying to give you a plug there, Tom. Tomorrow you're putting on a video course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason that we're all here, Nolan and Steve are going to be speaking tomorrow at the event. And it's going to be, it's for the industry. It's put on for other realtors, and it's really focusing on video and just doing better video. And something that we've all taken very seriously is how to help educate the consumer in a way that isn't just industry talk, but if I'm someone that moves every 10 years and I need to know what the hell's going on, I'd rather watch one of us three than someone that's talking in words I don't understand.
Totally.
And I think we've done a decent job at that. So Nolan and Steve are here to speak at that conference. And I'm really excited about it. So I'm giddy about it, to be honest. Steve, I was talking with Steve. He's like, I've never seen you so excited. Yeah, because
he phoned me the other day and he's like, man, I've got this all planned out. Like here's my slide. Can you look at my slide presentation? I was like, dude, you're happy.
Too funny.
I don't ever see you happy. So it's going to be fun. And I'm actually super stoked that we get to do this in person. This is fun.
This is no kidding.
This is your guys' first time
we
meeting.
met in person.
Yeah, in person. Yeah. Yeah.
I literally walked into the house and I was like, I hope this is the right place.
Let's skip by why we couldn't answer this.
Hey, Steve, we've got someone that says everything looks 10 times better when you leave Surrey. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Can I tell you my story about? Hang on, I'm trying to post this stupid thing in the comments.
Including Steve. Does Steve look better when he leaves Surrey?
I just recently did a road trip. I feel bad, Nolan, because I went through Calgary. Yeah. I actually stayed in Airdrie, and I didn't reach out to you because I blasted from Surrey to Airdrie one day. So it was like 12 hours in the car. Okay. And then we went out to Edmonton and Drumheller. We did a bunch of stuff with the kids. I like Calgary. It's good. I like the Airdrie. There's a reason Vancouver is so expensive. There's a reason the market where I am is so expensive because, man, all those little towns where you can buy those houses for $2 or $3
and that still exists there?
$1,000. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing, though. When you go into those, like I pulled up in a town called Edson, Alberta. And first of all, I didn't realize how far away from Edmonton it was, right? It's just a straight line that way. Just keep going. Mm. And then I pull up the realtor. I did this in every town I went to, pulled up the realtor app. And it's like 200,000, 250, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. But then when you open them up and look at the listing, it's like a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 800 square foot property. Right? Like, yeah, you can buy a house. Technically, you can put a roof over your head in Edson, Alberta for $200,000. Mm-hmm. Are you going to want to live there? Do I want to live there? No. There were some cool towns along the way. I think Hinton was a pretty cool little town. It had a Starbucks, so that's like my rating, right? Like if you don't have a Starbucks, I'm probably not going to move there.
Do you know we talk about that in Toronto all the time? It's like how far is the closest Starbucks or Dollarama? Because they're the two companies that do it based on closeness and income level, and like they pick their placements based on that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So like, and then we went through all these different places, and there's some beautiful scenery. But man, people live in Vancouver and people live in Toronto and even Calgary for that matter, because those are the places to be, and you can get really affordable housing not in those areas.
Well, right? Someone commented on one of our last podcast episodes because we were talking about like how inventory is still relatively tight, although the market has totally shifted. And it's like, if you look at Canada, inventory is not tight. It's just tight in specific areas that people want. Like we have an inventory issue in areas people want to live, not everywhere. And then I don't know if we talked about it on our episode, but Steve, I don't know if it's Steve that said this, but it was like, well, maybe it's a good thing Toronto and Vancouver are so expensive because it's going to help other cities actually grow. Because if everyone just wants to come here, we'll grow. And that's great for the people that live here and own real estate here, but not good for everybody else. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, there's always a trickle down effect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's interesting is like where people wanted to live is what changed. Like when the pandemic hit, it didn't shut down. Like there wasn't people coming into Canada, and all of a sudden it was like there was no houses available. It was literally people's preferences changed.
Right.
We didn't have a supply issue the day before, but the day after it was like all of a sudden, holy crap, people want to live in different houses and we don't have enough of those. And now we're seeing it shift back, right? It's interesting.
What is Calgary? Like, what is the average house in Calgary?
It's like 550,000 is pretty average.
Physically, what is that average house? Because what I noticed is there's also, with the land being so expensive, the actual house size tends to get a lot bigger.
Yeah. So I think when I was born in Calgary, there was 440,000 people, and now there's like 1.3 million. So you have to think, first of all, like most of the city is pretty freaking new.
Right.
Like we're talking like built in the last 20 years. So like the average house in Calgary now is very much a 2 or 3 bedroom, double attached garage, house in the suburbs. That's the average house.
So are you talking like
2,000 square feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, you don't build a 2,000 square foot house in Surrey anyway, unless you're on a 3,000 square foot lot. Right. Mm-hmm. So when they say, it's a $1.6 million home, that's probably 4,500 square feet, maybe I'm exaggerating, 4,200 square feet, right? So it's just, you're not even talking apples to apples, which is the weird thing. And I do think that we do have a ton of affordable housing. It's just not where the people want to live. And that's the whole freaking point, right? I mean, I was amazed. I'm driving from Airdrie.
Also, by the way, like, why are you going within Canada for your vacations?
Hey,
You can go somewhere warm.
Why are you going to Edmonton for your vacation? Let's forget Calgary. Let's talk about Edmonton.
There was weddings. There was different things involved. Okay. It was a road trip. I did ask myself after going to Drumheller why I went to Drumheller.
You skipped the good part, which was the mountains. You just skipped that. You drove it in 12 hours. You went to the part that wasn't the mountains.
It's been so. I love how you guys are just trashing me right now. It's been so long since I've been to the Rockies. There's a reason they're called the Rockies. I didn't realize it. It's like, oh, this is all rocks. The whole top. There's no trees up there. So anyway, it shows how Canadian.
I have a client that's moving back to Banff. He has family there, and I didn't realize this. He said that to buy a property in Banff, you have to be a permanent. That has to be a primary property. Yeah, they don't allow investments in Banff.
Yeah, you have to live there. Now, what's really interesting is there's a whole bunch of people who have second floor leases that come with the sale of a property. So they run their businesses out of Banff, but really they're living in Calgary or something like that, and they've got that. Yeah, so there's ways around it there that people shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But yeah, for the most part, to live in the national park, you have to live, or you have to work there.
Interesting. So you think if the rules that they have in Banff, if they take that and they put that same rule in Toronto and they put that same rule in Vancouver, do we solve the affordability because investors aren't buying up all the properties?
Yeah, no idea.
I don't know. Do Banff housing prices go up? I honestly don't know.
There's so few of them that it's hard to measure. Now, Canmore, which is 15 minutes away, which is just outside the national park, their housing prices have just been going up.
Because it's close to Banff? Is that why?
Because it's close to Banff. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I don't know. If you take the investors out, does that affect the market? Wouldn't sell them
we've just
for
taken
much,
the investors out. We've just taken the investors out. The investors haven't bought since, in my market anyway.
Well, because it wouldn't have made sense to them.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense anymore.
To the emotional buyers over the last craziness, right?
So all the investors are no longer buying. So what happens? Prices go down, obviously. Yeah. And now rents are skyrocketing. Right? I just served, I know, Tom, you're going to get mad at me, but I just served both my tenants with their notice of their 2%. Thank you, BC. Their 2% increase. And I know it's not a life-changing number for me, as you pointed out in the past, but I mean, it's a heck of a lot if what else is going on out there right now.
BC makes it so you almost have to increase their rents every
because if you don't, you get stuck,
behind, right?
Yeah. You're so stuck. I sold a property actually for somebody I met off of YouTube this year, and he was just a passive investor. He's like, yeah, I've never raised it. He had it for 5 years. The rent on that property was $950 a month when the competition was renting for $1,450. So he actually ended up taking a hit on the sale price, likely as a result of an investor was going to
had to assume the tenant.
Right. It's an investor building.
Right.
And they had to assume the tenant, couldn't kick them out, weren't going to move into it. So they took, and he ended up, unfortunately, I think, likely selling for less because they didn't see those rent increases.
That's interesting. I just did a video that did pretty well because we don't have rent control if the building was built after November 15th, 2018. Okay. So it used to be 1991, anything built before that, rent control. And then after that, it was fair game. Then they switched it 2017, rent controls everywhere again. And then when the government changed in Ontario, they took it out. So there's all these people that got like a discount pandemic rent. And then now they're coming to the end of their 12-month lease. And they go in, and a lot of these are purpose-built rentals. So it's not just like little landlord, like purpose-built rental REITs are not going to forget that they can raise the rents. Like they're not just going to forget, right? Like I would, or a landlord that just has a good tenant. So people are getting 15% rent increases because they can.
Yeah.
And it's like they're freaking out. But the problem is the rental market's gone up 20% at the same time. So even if they go to look elsewhere, they're not going to find anything better. And so it's like, if you're an investor in Toronto, why would you buy in a building not built after that date? And if you were a tenant, why would you not rent in a building not built before that date?
Yeah. It's weird how they do that because we don't have that. The only rule we have is regarding around if the strata can rule out rentals completely, but the rental increase is just every single property there is. You can't go outside of the Tenancy Act. Let me be clear. I don't think 15% is fair either. Right. Like I honestly don't. I'm not the guy that's like, yeah, I would just charge more rent. Not like that is a crazy thing to dump onto a tenant.
Mhm.
And that will put people in a really, really bad situation. But I think Horgan came out and said something in BC, something like, well, 5.4%, I think they did the average.
For inflation?
5.4% inflation. And it's unfair that the tenants have to absorb that. And I'm like, that's a stupid statement.
But
right?
if your costs as a landlord have gone up, and people are probably going to hate me for saying this, and I'm just talking out loud right now and trying to throw ideas out there. But like, if your costs have gone up because interest rates have gone up, shouldn't the person living in the property have to absorb that?
Let alone your strata fees if it's a condo and property taxes.
Like
and-
everyone's charging more for everything.
Yeah.
Our chocolate company today that we send out chocolates to for everyone who applies for a mortgage on YouTube, they're like, we got to increase your prices 20%. It's like everything's going up in price. So why should a landlord have to take on the burden of that? Because what people assume about landlords is that they're rich, right? And that's not necessarily the case. Most of the ones we see, they're just making it by. In fact, they're quite often worse off than the renters who are renting the place because they've got all the debt and they're just trying to hold on to the properties.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not a fun conversation to have, but I think everyone's got to take on the increases in prices equally, not just put it on the landlord.
Is it weird that you sent 20 chocolates to an address in BC called Stevie K? It's weird that you keep getting that application.
Well, the chocolate company likes that.
To be fair, someone is asking if I can, ask the Karrasch guy. So which one of you guys wants to ask me to stop with my stupid memes on my videos?
Oh, I like your memes. You like the cats and everything else?
The memes that have been on there. I would just like to say...
I missed that comment.
Oh no, stop clowning with the stupid memes on my videos. And those videos, first of all, thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate that. And those memes are there for me. So
Yeah, I think the thing is too is like, and I can understand that someone that maybe watches our channels, just they're like, okay, well, these are the videos and I watch them and I expect certain things from you guys because I know what you're going to put out. But it's like, we're sitting by ourselves staring at a camera lens and like trying to entertain ourselves as well. Like you got to kind of like make sure that, of course, we're making it for you. That's the reason why we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's cool that so many people are watching. But a little piece has to be like, okay, I'm also making this because I enjoy it. And there has to be a part of what you actually enjoy in it, right?
it's for me. They said you're welcome. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you watching.
This is actually good. Did you decrease rents when interest rates went down? So no, but I will say when the pandemic hit, I gave my renter a $200 decrease and I never got it back.
Mm-hmm.
I will answer this question. Last year, did I raise my rent? No, I did not raise my rent.
But you didn't decrease your rent.
I did not decrease my rents last year. My payments didn't go down last year. Inflation is still a thing. And when inflation was not a problem and rates were not going up, no, I did not increase because I didn't see the value in it at that time. Currently, I believe that I am helping supply a safe roof over people's heads, and there is some responsibility on the tenants to take responsibility for that. You should never just be a tenant thinking, oh, I guess I got the free ride now, right? Like it's a stupid argument as far as I'm concerned. I
mean, to give you like real world numbers from Calgary, in 2014, we bought a property that was renting for $1,495 a month. And by 2016, we were renting it for $1,050, and that was as interest rates were starting to come down. Right?
Same tenant or
different tenants. Every
So
time
they
the
moved
tenants
out.
changed, you had to like.
And that's the market.
Yeah, that's the market. So the market's the market, and when the costs went down for us, the market went down, and vice versa. Right? So it's kind of like the market will kind of take control of what's happening to a certain extent with respect to what you can charge. And right now, the cost on living in Canada is going up, regardless of whether you're a landlord or a tenant. And, it's just what's going to happen in the market.
I was the article that I did the last video on, it was like RioCan was the developer that they were pointing at and saying they did this. Now, again, that's RioCan. So BlogTO does an article on RioCan increase rents by 15%. They're a REIT. They own a lot. And they're not the only one, by the way. It's all these landlords, well, big time landlords. But if that article came out and said like Tom Storey raised rent 15%, it would be like, that's that person. I see them. I don't like that person because they did this. Where these big corporations, there's no face.
Yeah.
It's just a name. You're like, well, how am I supposed to? And they even said in the article, like they tried to negotiate with them and they were just like, no, this is it. And we know if you leave, someone else will come in. And it's like, it's tough.
Yeah. There is no, I mean, it's not fun to do it. It's not like everybody's rubbing their hands together going, look at, I get $40 more per month, right? Like it's not going to, like you said, it's not a big change. It's just, it is the only thing we get to now do to put us in a spot where we can continue with the property. Because I did the calculations just actually, you're going to see it on my channel this Friday. I think I did the calculations when I renew. If I renew, I think at 5.5%, my payments on that investment property, I'm now negative $400 a month. Right. So I've got 3 years to try and get it to a spot where I'm going to be, and I'm still going to be negative because I can only raise it right now, 2%, like $40.
Right.
Right. So I've got a chance to recoup some of that in the future, but I have to start doing that now. Right. Because I'm at, you're going to be disgusted by me, I'm sure, Nolan, but I'm at 1.79, 1.89 on a 5 year. Right. So, I mean, right now it's fantastic.
Great rate. Yeah.
Right. I bought the property because it cash flowed positive. It broke even at 100% financing. So I should have bought more. That's what I should have done.
Right.
Well, even I can tell you, like, Steve is the fixed rate guy. I have always taken variable. I have variable on every single property that I own, whether it's with investors or just myself. This, I'll give you like a real, like this, where we are sitting right now, prior to March, my payment on this property, which I paid $950,000 for, was just the mortgage, was $3,300 a month ish on a just under 2%, hovering. It was down to 1.5. Now it's 5, and I'm paying. It's costing me over $1,000 more per month just on the mortgage on this property.
Adjustable? You got the adjustable?
I got the adjustable on this one. I think the mortgage on this property was Scotia. My cottage property, I have the fixed, and I got a heads up before the 75 points that I was getting close to the trigger rate, and I'm okay because I'm fine to get over, but it's like it's real, like it's real, and like even for anybody, it's like I don't care if it's $1,000, $200. Some people, their mortgage went up by $2,000.
Is it true, Nolan, right now that a couple of companies have sent out memos basically being like, you can increase your payment by like $2, and
you can just go over,
keep kicking that can down the road and get your 500-year amortization by the end of it?
Can you actually do that?
I haven't heard about that. So like the space that we play in, I have one lender that does variable rates with fixed payments, and it's TD, and I love TD as a company. Maybe not right now, but I had a bad experience with TD in like the last month. That's a really good story, but for our clients are not exposed to that. So I haven't heard much on that. I haven't been really paying attention to it because like my clients are good. I made one video about the trigger rate because it was the right thing to do and give people information about it. But our clients have no exposure to it. So I haven't heard that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's happening. But if you're getting the advice from the bank, hey, just increase your payments by $2 and let's kick the can down the road. Well, I hope they're also telling you that when you get to that 5-year renewal that you're going to have to readjust your amortization, and then you're going to have to pay for it. And it gets worse every single time you kick it down the road because it's just math.
Yeah, because
your amortization's like 60 years, 70 years, like
50 or 60 years.
Like, when you're just paying interest.
Totally.
It's wild.
It's absurd. It's going to get bad. So it's going to get bad on two fronts. Fixed rate mortgages, that's you, flipping over to 5%. Readjusting, because keep in mind that everywhere else in the world, a 5-year fixed mortgage is called an adjustable rate mortgage.
Yeah,
it's a 5-year adjustable.
Yeah.
In Canada, we call it a fixed because we're lying to ourselves. And then you're going to have these variables with the fixed rate payments, which I don't even know what we call that, but all those payments are going to reset at some point. I'm not concerned about people right now because they've all qualified at 5.25%. I'm really concerned about what happens when all the variable fixed payments and all the fixed payment mortgages. So basically, if you have a payment that's fixed in 3 years and those start coming up for renewal, I'm worried about what's going to happen then. That's what scares the crap out of me.
Totally.
And like my clients are good. It's going to adjust gradually.
It is going to adjust gradually. I'm shocked by the amount of people that went and, for instance, a broker that I use often would get them constantly approved at Scotia, much like yourself, and then they'd go into TD to try and get a better. Now, the broker could have took them to TD, but then I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it regular that the fixed payment variable rate would be still slightly lower than the? No, it would be the same one.
No.
So they're just cutting rate.
I mean, all the lenders, like if Scotiabank's competing against TD, they're competing at the same rates.
Okay.
They're just trying to get the client. Right?
I got a question for you.
Similar.
Why has the 5-year fixed rate not really come down from the banks, even though the bond yield has come down?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, the 5-year fixed rates with the monoline lenders.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, okay, so you have non-bank lenders, you have banks. The non-bank lenders are all pretty much funded by the big banks, but it's not on their balance sheet. It's from their security side. So RBC Dominion Securities will buy mortgages from like Merrick's Financial.
Sure.
I don't know if that's actually happening. I assume it is, but they're buying these mortgages, and the pricing on those mortgages is significantly cheaper than what the RBC mortgage will be right now. That could be a couple things. It could be the bank signaling that they don't want those mortgages right now. One thing that tends to happen at the end of a year as banks get closer to their year end is they sort of hit the top of their caps of what they can lend.
Right.
So like all these banks could be hitting the limits of what they have available. And then they could just be saying, okay, we're not going to be competitive on those mortgages because we're just out of the space. There's a lot of things that could be playing into it, but it's interesting because you're seeing those monoline lenders, those non-bank lenders, the First Nationals, MCAPs, the CMLSs, the Merrick's Financials of the world. You're seeing them being significantly more competitive right now.
So why wouldn't anyone go to them?
Well, that's the question.
Why wouldn't you go to them?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Lack of education around where you should be getting your
just
mortgage.
walking into your bank and not knowing any different. And
Yep.
I think Canadians still as a whole still like walking into one of the big five.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something in the society, I guess. I want to reach out or mention a couple of things here.
Before you do that, though,
yep.
I just got to say, I do enjoy fighting with tellers when I have a problem. That's my favorite thing to do, is being able to walk in and fight with them in person.
You know what maybe we should talk about? I don't know if we should get into it right here or not, but I'd like to give you my personal situation and get your feedback on it. Not financial advice for them, but for me.
We'll mention the things you were going to mention, and then we can get into that if you want to.
Okay, Bob Hildebrandt's my new favorite person in the world. If you're a renter, stop buying new cars, trucks, trailers. Stop buying stupid stuff.
How about if you live in Canada?
That's advice to everybody, though. You don't have to be a renter.
Yeah.
Start saving and be responsible. Bob, if I wasn't already married. And if I was into dudes. Then there's something about...
Editor, clip that.
There's still time. It's live. There's no editor.
Is it a good time to invest in... Okay, this is one that we love. Is it a good time to invest in Calgary? If so, what kind of property under 500K? I live in Toronto. Full stop there. That's where we should stop. What things should I be mindful of? Should I say it, Nolan, or should you?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you live in Toronto, do not buy a property in Calgary. Right?
I own a property in Vancouver.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I just got dead air. I mean, I would suggest you are, first of all, I know your situation. I don't think you want to maybe disclose it all here, but it's not as simple as you own the property outright and have to manage it, right? Like it is a little bit more involved in that. And you know a lot about real estate and investing.
Sure.
You guys saw that though, right? In Calgary, you guys saw, there was a month or two where it was just like everybody coming into, I think Marnie was telling me that, and I'm pretty sure Derek Timmons was telling me that.
Insane.
It was like
we had to put on our website a question that said, are you buying an investment property? And if they clicked no, it kicked them out the back and said, sorry, we can't help you, because there were so many people trying to buy investment properties in Calgary. And it's like, man, if you're investing in a market that you don't understand, like let's say you like to invest in stocks and you're investing in all of these things, like you're investing in GE and you're investing in big companies, and all of a sudden crypto comes along and you go, oh, that seems like a good place to invest. I'm just
Right.
going to dump a bunch of money in there because it seems cheaper than buying a blue chip stock like an Apple or a Tesla. Well, if you're buying in something that you aren't used to buying into and you aren't used to investing in, that's probably not the best decision. And well, we saw a lot of people lose money in crypto. It's the same thing for real estate, right? Like if you're investing in markets that you don't understand, especially energy dependent markets, you're probably going to find yourself in a lot of trouble somewhere down the road if you aren't there and able to have your finger on the pulse of the market. So I'd say no.
I just want to give a lot of commenters shout outs that I'm not going to read some of the stuff like live here, but they're pretty funny. Like there's a scooter joke and like there's some good, really things that you would only know if you really watched all of our stuff. So I just want to.
There was a scooter joke?
Yeah, there's a scooter.
I'm scrolling back. I'm
Yeah.
scrolling back.
A real estate club
Buying now in Calgary is a prerequisite to a spectacular scooter film.
I think Calgary's good for a while. Like we've got the market's pretty strong there right now, even in rising interest rates. But if you don't understand the market, what you'll realize is that there's a reason why Calgary is outperforming the rest of the country right now, and that's because we have higher energy prices, and it's bound to turn about the same time that the rest of the country starts picking back up, right?
I've got a good question here that it just came in. So someone says, if one had a couple of $100,000 waiting to buy investment properties, would you wait until the end of the year, early next year, or would you buy now? And I know that's an impossible question to answer for everything, and it depends on market and everything else, but just the sense you're getting right now.
I mean, that's an easy answer, right? Like timing the market is what makes good people make bad decisions. And here's the reality of real estate markets. So first and foremost, if you got a couple $100,000 waiting around, and it's today, I would say your best move is probably to pay down any debt that you have, because that is after tax investment. So if you're paying 5% on your mortgage and you are paying that off, it is after tax money. So your return on that money is actually significantly higher than the 5% in debt that you're paying off. By the way, I wrote a book on why you should maintain debt, and this is me saying that now. So that's the first piece. The second piece is you go back in history and you look at downturns in markets, and they typically last anywhere from 6 to 18 months. If you try to time the market, a lot of people end up trying to time the market and they wait 5 years going, it's going to go down, it's going to go down, it's going to go down. And then they just wait. And then 25 years later, that 5 years was a blip on the radar.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have charts that I can show you guys on this where say, if you just would have bought at when the market started to come down, it didn't matter whether you caught the bottom or not, you're probably going to be better off 25 years down the road. So if you can afford it and you can buy a property and you can keep your debt ratios low, and you also build in some allowance for higher interest rates and a further declining market, 25 years from now, it doesn't make a difference when you buy. Stop trying to time the market.
Yep.
Right?
I have a question for you, Tom, because you are actively now looking for your next home.
Yeah.
Are you decreasing your purchase price, or are you now going to, because prices have come down, are you now going to look at a higher or bigger, better property?
Well, I mean, I got approved for a certain number, so that's the number I could go to if I wanted to anyway. So that limits what I could buy regardless.
But if you were now looking at like the exact property type, let's
Sure.
say you were looking at in March at lower rates,
Okay.
compared to now, is it the same property type?
It's the same property type. The payments are effectively the same, even though the price has come down
Your interest rate's just higher.
$400,000. Nice. And
There wasn't any water nearby.
and but I will say that, and we were talking about this at dinner, and the only reason I'm able to do this is because I bought a condo in 2016 for $550,000 that I just sold for over $800,000. So from what I've made, what was paid down, what was initially put into it, which was 20%, that is going to fuel my down payment for the next property, right? But even after doing that, looking at where rates are at today, it's like I can do the down payment, I can probably get what I want, and it's going to be at a much lower purchase price. And probably I'm still going to take a variable, to be honest with you. Like at this point, why would I take a fix? Like not a 5-year fix at least.
You're not going to try to time the interest rate market?
No, I'm not.
Good call.
Hey, wait, where today are variable and fixed? Aren't they closer than
They're
ever?
pretty close. Which is hilarious because now if I tell you to lock in, chances are rates will go down.
Do you
and
know-
if I tell you to continue taking variables, they're probably going to go up.
Okay, so I just started writing a video for my channel today while I was waiting in the airport,
Mhm.
and that's kind of the gist of it. Like now that everybody's like, for instance, you Nolan, that guy told me to take variable. Now I'm screwed. Blah 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 blah. And you're like, okay, now fixed and variable are the same. Yeah, but now variable is going to come down. They're still going to hop into that mortgage that's probably too much risk for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't know.
It's just don't buy too big of a property. Don't buy at your limit, and that's the thing. It's so funny because these guys come after me, and they're like, "You told us to get a variable rate," and it's like, okay, so first of all, I didn't see an application come through our system from you. I've never talked to you. You watched a 13-minute video, which, by the way, in the intro says product penalty price in that order. Every single video, we've always said it's not about the interest rate. I'm not the guy who drove the boat into the Suez Canal and jammed it there for 3 weeks or however long it was there. I didn't invade the Ukraine. The best, what I've always said is the way we're making our mortgage decisions is by picking the best product, making sure we don't get exposed to major penalties, and then we worry about the price. And the price is the interest rates, and we don't try to time markets. And the biggest thing is not getting exposed to those penalties, because I'd rather be having a conversation about people's payments going up $1,000 a month right now than be having a conversation about with somebody who's going through a divorce, or somebody who has to sell their property because they lost their job, or somebody who just has to get out for some reason about their $35,000 to $40,000 penalty because rates stayed exactly the same. Right. So, it's when we talk about risk, we're talking about the risk of interest rates going up was at the time was significantly lower than the 60% chance that somebody isn't going to make it to the end of their 5-year term and be exposed to a massive payout penalty. So we have to make the decisions based on that. And by the way, my clients, we had that conversation. It's like, do you want to be exposed to the interest rate? Could go up by 5%. Or do you want to be exposed to a penalty? Oh, and by the way, just so you know, 3 out of 5 don't make it to the end of their 5-year term.
But nobody believes you for that.
No.
Nobody thinks that, everybody's, I'm going to make it to the end.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody thinks, no, or, I'm not getting a divorce, or I won't just want to move.
Yeah.
But those penalties are crazy. And what a lot of people don't pick up on those penalties is they're very finicky on that. Like, is it the anniversary date?
Mm-hmm.
I had one client that was like going to close with my least favorite bank. And they were going to go to a different lender, but then they were told, no, your penalty's this big if you leave. So then they stayed with that bank. And then it turns out our closing date was like after their anniversary date. There must be a great comment.
Yeah, you guys
and
make
their
me
mortgage as a result of staying with that bank, their mortgage actually, their penalty doubled. And it went from over 10,000 to over 20,000.
Totally.
Very, very quickly.
And that's what we tell people, right? Especially if they're moving up, it's like, yeah, you've got this big penalty now. Do you want to kick the can further down the road and have an even bigger one? Like, my job isn't to get somebody the best rate. My job is to protect people from what they don't know, the surprises, right? And the people who work with us understand that. And the people who go to our website and we say, anybody can get you to 0.1% better rate. That a guy who took the course yesterday can do that. But what we do is we try to make sure that we save you tens of thousands over the next 25 years. That's the hard part. Do you want to work with us exclusively and have us shop for you? Like, the people who say yes to that have a completely different picture of where interest rates are right now than the people who said no and just went to their banker and said, hey, sure, I'll take that mortgage.
I was just thinking of when you were talking about how, like, was it 3 out of 5 people don't make it to the end of their 5-year? If I think about the properties that I've bought, and I've always taken variable, so the penalty wouldn't have been that big. One, which I just sold, I made it to the end of the 5-year, and the other ones I refinanced. So it's like, not that I sold them, but like I only made it to the end of 5-year once. And again, I haven't been investing for that long of a time. It's only been like 8 years, but I've only made it once.
Totally. Jess, who works for me right now, I'm like, go through, check the renewals for the next 6 months. She's like, there aren't any. Because with us, they have either gone and they've done all the things we've talked about moving on to a better or moving out of their mortgage, or we've called them and said, hey, we can get you a better rate. And this all happened during the pandemic, and we moved them ourselves. So we have like no renewals right now because we're on top of it and because most people don't make it there.
I think a lot of people don't, like, if there is a 5-year fixed also coming up, even though most people don't make it there, if there is a 5-year fixed coming up, there's a very good chance that those people were already 3.5% or higher. Because 2018, 2019 was not a good time for low rates.
Yep.
Right. I know I got my last one at 3.59 and it was the best thing I could possibly
I would take a
get.
3.59 right now.
Totally. You might be saying that again if you don't lock in soon. This yin and yang we have.
You
here
think
is
I
good.
should lock into a 5-year fix at 5%, whatever. Let's say 5% for the next 5 years? Really? Like, don't you think that's going to be worse than still riding the variable? I don't know. I mean, the answer is
the
impossible.
answer is we don't know. However, yeah,
For 5 years though, I could do a year, maybe 2 years.
I'm a chicken. Actually, okay, this will segue us. This is the debate I had in my head when I got my last mortgage. So I ended up with a Manulife One.
Was the cat involved
In the mortgage?
in the conversation in your head?
No.
We should do a meme on that where you're talking to the cat about your mortgage.
That'd be a great. I'd watch that one.
So I got a Manulife One because one, I wanted the Manulife One product itself, but they also offered to lock in a certain portion. And I knew that I would be able to pay down the fixed portion fast, but I knew I wouldn't be able to pay down the whole thing. Or sorry, the variable portion fast. And I've almost done that now. Like the HELOC's coming down to basically it's approaching 0 quickly. But I have to renew in June. Right. So that's where now I want to keep the Manulife One. Manulife One, if you're listening, Manulife Bank, close your ears. I'm going to keep it because it's the best product I've ever had. And it really works for someone who's in commission sales with fluctuating incomes, right? You don't have to actually pay down each month. I think it's one of the only HELOCs where you don't have to pay each month at least a minimum or something. So it's got so much flexibility. But the question is, what do I do with that fixed portion? And do I roll some over like I did last time and continue to pay it down? Because right now, the interest rate on a Manulife One is 5.95. That's variable rate, 5.95. And my fixed portion is 2.79 currently.
What's the percentage split between fixed and variable? Like it just depends on the person.
I actually requested a certain amount.
Okay.
So when I renewed that mortgage, I think I had $300,000 on the fixed portion, and the HELOC can go to $350,000, right? So now the HELOC's almost 0, and I don't know what's on after 5 years, probably $260,000, $250,000, something left over, right? And the question is like, yeah, what do I do? Because I'm looking at, Manulife doesn't have very favorable fixed rate. They don't have favorable rates at all, really. They are.
We've had guys from Manulife sit in our office and say, yeah, no, we're not a bank. We're a marketing company.
Yeah.
And like you pay a premium for the marketing and the and how good our product is. Yeah.
Well, I must say I'm a fan of the product because as a result of getting that HELOC, I have paid way less interest than I ever would have, even on a 2.79 5-year fixed, right? Even though my interest rate's 6% now.
I want to ask the smartest person here a question, which is obviously Nolan. There is a.
You just pump my tires.
I'm
way
putting
too
myself
much.
in that too.
Jesus.
But you know, when you're putting stuff out, especially live, you have to be self-deprecating. Else you just look like, So there's a
So
mix.
what you're saying is that I'm not the smartest.
No, you
person.
are. You still are.
Okay.
It's clear. But there's a mix here between people saying like, okay, rate hikes are done versus there's more coming in October and maybe even December. The first time ever in December, who knows? And then people talking about, it's all based on, the American numbers and what the Fed does and where they go. And we're just going to follow. Like, this is 100%, 1,000% not financial advice. And we have no clue what's going to happen. If you had to make a thing and just go like, okay, October, December, do we have any idea? Maybe 25?
So here's the thing. Like, there's no point in even trying to predict.
Sure.
It, right? Just write it out, figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you're having trouble making your mortgage payments, then your lifestyle probably needs to shift because you qualified at significantly higher interest rate. Now, here's the thing. Like, very rarely will a central bank increase interest rates prior to Christmas. It just won't happen because there's a balance between being like completely demoralizing and dealing with the economy. So, could you see another one before that? Probably. Will you see multiple? My guess is no. But and I'm not going to try to make a prediction of where it's going to go because very rarely have I ever. But my gut feeling right now is that the Bank of Canada needs to spend some time figuring out what they did. And they also
See if it
they
worked.
also know they need to figure out what they did. And they know that like the senior deputy governor of the Bank of Canada did a speech in Calgary last week where she said it's a 2-year time horizon for these things to go through. And it's like they know that they're like, now it's wait and see.
It is 2 years though, because look when they ratcheted down rates, and then look when inflation went stupid. It was exactly 2 years.
It went, oh shit, we went too far.
Yeah, they did,
and then spent like almost a year going, it's transitory. We didn't go too far. All this supply chain stuff should come out of the market, and we should be fine. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh wait, it turns out we need to do something. Now, here's the other side of it: is we've got two things that are causing interest rates to go up right now. We've got monetary policy, which is creating inflation. And then we've got supply chain issues that are creating inflation. And those supply chain issues are there. It's obvious that they're there. So one of those two things is temporary, the supply chain issues. And at some point, you can't stop an economy and then try to restart it without there being a lack of supply in certain goods. So at least part of this is temporary. The question is it a small piece? Is it a medium-sized piece? Or is it a large portion of it? And that's probably going to take another 2 years for us to figure out as well.
I thought it was interesting. Have you seen Daryl's new videos where he's walking around the street, like yelling at the camera? They're amazing. Anyways, he did one where he went out and he tried to interview people just in Toronto, like people walking the streets, being like, interest rates going up. What do you think? And everyone's like, I don't know, like no clue. So like we've got 142 people watching us right now that care about this stuff.
Most people don't.
The average person has no clue what's going on.
Which is really scary because if we've got 70% of the country who's in variable rates with fixed payments or fixed rate mortgages,
Which they don't know what they're in. They have no clue what they're in.
They're not going to think about it until they get the payment, right? That's funny.
But that's why I'm taking the opportunity and have done over the last many weeks to like tell my clients. And I know everybody says they know what's going on, but I'm like, guys, whatever you got to do, start paying down more, pay attention to it, because run the numbers. I told my youngest brother, I was like, please take your mortgage, plug in 5.5%, and tell me if you're still happy. Because he was one of those crazy guys that got 149 for 5 years. And I'm like, that's awesome, but start paying down now.
Yeah,
because I don't know, it could be a life changer in a few years.
Is there so in the US you can get a 30-year term at a rate? That's correct. So there are people in the US that took a 1.7% fixed rate for the next 30 years. That exists.
Yep.
Crazy.
So
there's like there's a chart in on Bloomberg today, maybe it was yesterday, that shows like exposure to variable rates, and it's like New Zealand, Australia, it's like almost everybody is in a 1 year or shorter mortgage. And then US has almost zero exposure to variable or adjustable rates because everyone's got the crap scared out of them in 2008.
And you've got to think that they're going to sell that with the house if they can port the mortgage, because I don't know if it's allowed, but like that's got to be an attractive thing to sell your house with.
I know the answer.
I got
to that.
26 years left on 1.8%.
that's actually why a lot of them
I have a feeling.
I'm not sure if you're allowed to or what the deal is.
I have a feeling that in the US there's an automatic due on sale clause.
Okay. Yeah.
As opposed to
that
here
would make
where
sense,
mortgages are assumable.
So I'm going to go back to just old folks in the office and hearsay, because I wasn't around back then.
Old folks in the office.
The old guys in the office that said, okay, that used to talk about that stuff, because apparently, according to them, this whole home buyer protection thing that we're doing in BC and federally, the Home Buyers Bill of Rights and all this stuff. According to the guys that have been in the business since, the 70s, their whole thing was like, that we don't have 30 and 25-year mortgages here fixed rate as a result of home buyer protection. Because as interest rates came down, they pitched it as, well, you don't want to be locked into that 15% mortgage for the next 30 years, do you?
We can play
So-
the other side too. It's great if
But
it's
they-
low. It would suck if it was 30 years at 7%.
They
right?
did play that for the longest time. And I knew a guy that would only take 10 years.
Mhm.
And he would take 10 years when the rates were like 5 and 7%. He'd take the 7.5% mortgage. I'm like, you're crazy. Have you had anybody in the last year
man.
that took a 10-year?
Yes. So, I mean, I have to tell you, like, the first part of this story is there were people in like 2012 who were like, give me a 10-year mortgage, rates are going to go up. And then they went down. And the best thing about a 10-year mortgage in Canada is that year 5, it is the bank legally cannot charge you more than 3 months interest. So when we were doing those 10-year mortgages and we were saying to clients, I don't think it's the right thing, but if you want it, sure. We were getting paid double to do those 10-year mortgages. I did like 6 of them just because I didn't feel like it was the right thing. But then at the end of 5 years, when rates went down, we were able to pay 3-month interest penalty. We'd pay the penalty for them. And then they'd be able to jump into another 5-year fixed mortgage at significantly lower. So we'd get paid like 1.5 times to do those, or sorry, almost 3 times as much to do those 10-year mortgages. And like I said, we did 6. So we've never recommended them. And last year, we had a gal who she's an EVP of a pretty big company and an incredibly intelligent woman. And she caught like the very bottom of the 10-year market. And she got a 10-year mortgage for 2.1%. And that is probably the single best mortgage
Tom
we
wouldn't
did
have
for
taken
anybody.
it. Tom wouldn't have taken it. He's like, I'm going
Well,
variable.
you know what's actually funny? I had a client reach out to me before the rates started going up, and he asked me about 10-year. I said, I'm not qualified to answer this. Talk to a mortgage broker. But he said he talked to 3, and all 3 of them said, no way.
Mhm.
And at the time, I think earlier this year, and like, tell me if I'm wrong here, I think he could have gotten a 10-year at like 4%. Is it still the same rules where after 5, it's 3 months interest?
Yep.
So maybe that would have been a good thing looking back, but who the heck would have known
Totally.
this was going to happen?
I mean, based on the information we had at the time, you got Tiff Macklem saying interest rates will remain low for an extremely long period of time. I mean, it didn't make sense to take a 10-year. Now, in hindsight, it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Best comment. I don't know if this is a troll. I really hope it's not serious, but mortgage rates are transitory. I love that. I want that on a t-shirt.
this guy comments on my channel as well. He's got that little flag thing. I see him all the time.
yeah.
Here's an interesting one for the conspiracy theories. Do you trust the VOC?
I don't even think I'm qualified to answer that because I don't know. I don't know. Like Tiff is the person I see.
Yeah.
I don't know who else works there. I've never really looked into, like, I'm not in that
It's
world.
Tiff and the devil in my videos. Have you seen that?
So, I mean, he says, do you trust the BOC data? Their data, I think, is probably reliable.
Yeah.
I think the lesson that we've all learned is that forecasting is difficult for even the people with the best
Do you
data.
think they forecast though? I mean,
Well, I mean,
obviously,
he obviously
they're
forecasted, right?
forecasting,
He's like 3 years, you'll have really low interest rates.
but
and then-
their actions are not as a result of forecasting. Their actions are a result of looking at the results.
Yeah. And their actions are also, well, their actions are in a way a result of forecasting because they're trying to get ahead of a problem that they see building, which is that.
I don't think they did that though.
No, they're doing that. They're trying to do that now.
Yeah, because
They were
already
late and
saw
now
it.
they're like, oh, shoot. Yeah.
Because I could have told you when I tried to do my fence a couple of years ago and lumber went from whatever $100 a skid to 300. I was like, problem guys, interest rates, let's go.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything, right? So I think the problem is they have to
Honestly, these comments are so good.
they have to work. Maybe we can get them back in for the people that are joining on the audio. This will be on re-released, by the way, on the
On the
Tom
podcast
Storey
channel.
Show and on audio as a bonus track because we're so happy Nolan's here.
When
But-
Sober September's over, I think we should do one of these where we have to take a shot every time somebody says like Bank of Canada or something.
I was also thinking, I was thinking with like we could sell these at cost, but just like anything that we say in our videos or we talk about on the podcast that we can put on a t-shirt. I'd be curious if you're watching this, like if we sold to you what it cost us to produce it, would you buy something with a funny saying on it?
You mean a
like,
cat?
Yeah. Or, like if we put the cat poster on
If
a
it just
t-shirt.
said the Tom Storey Show and had a scooter underneath.
I
it.
love this shirt.
This, the scooter.
I might have an extra one of these. You want it?
You got to show it to the.
Everybody see that? No, they can just see my boobs.
That is what is called copyright infringement.
This is called parody, and it's fully legal. Thank you very much, Run DMC. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting back to the topic though. Like, I definitely feel like people think there's a big conspiracy. Oh, what's in the basket of goods? They're messing with it. No, man, those guys are trying to do their best.
Yep.
They're trying to come up with the best information and do the best job they can. And anybody that thinks otherwise than that has obviously never been involved. Like I see it with the real estate board, right? The real estate board of the Fraser Valley. The guys at the top of that care way more than anybody else does about the data that is being put out by them, because it is them and their reputation. And there's a weird group of people that love data and stuff like that. But to think that anybody's messing with that or screwing with that, trying to make a conspiracy theory, no. Where it gets muddy is who is the boss of TIF and which direction do they want to push it? Because there was a press release, late last year that was like, I think the Bank of Canada said something about house prices are the federal government's problem. We're not doing anything with interest rates, right? They're going to have to come to their own solution. And that's when they started talking about all the BS about the home buyer protection and all that stuff.
Did you see Trudeau today? He was talking about the fact that the incentives they're putting into the market are targeted and they aren't going to have an impact on inflation. It's like, oh my God! It's like if you give anybody money, that's going to have an impact on inflation. I can't believe that. And I'm so politically agnostic. I don't care, but I don't care about the politics of it, but I care about the fact that we can have a prime minister who can sit there and say, we're going to put money into the economy and then go, but don't worry, it's not going to have an inflationary effect.
Yeah.
It's like, you idiot.
But that's because everybody he's saying that to that votes for him wants to believe the same thing.
Well, and he's running scared because the other political party just elected a new leader, which, by the way, I don't think. Oh my God, I think he scares the shit out of me because that's like heading down that Donald Trump road of politics.
I don't think he's a Donald Trump, but I definitely
he's smarter and more eloquent and a better speaker, which makes him more dangerous.
You know what I hate about all politicians? Let me get on my list, but really, the thing I hate is, can we talk like real human beings?
Totally.
Right? Can we talk like there is no better, all of these talking point things just makes no sense to me. And let's just talk like real human beings and sit down. Oh my God, how good are the comments?
They're good.
We
this
crossed
comment,
politics.
you can't show up in it with a beard and a lumberjack so they're not slam at least 3 shots.
Just for audio listeners out there now,
by the
Nolan
way,
is
I got
actively drinking.
By the way, I got you off topic there. Just to be clear, I equally slammed Trudeau and PP there. So screw off on the
Here's my political stance, and I will share them here freely. If you cheer for a political party like you cheer for a hockey team, you're an idiot.
Great comment.
Or if you just cheer for the Leafs in general, like me my whole life, you're probably also an idiot because you just know failure and pain.
Yeah, like. Honestly, why we pick a hockey team because it's from where we are and we want to have somebody to cheer for and it's more fun that way. But if you pick a political party in the same manner and only go, well, these are my guys, I'm going to get out my conservative party, my liberal party jacket and wear that down to the convention, you are an idiot because now you're cheering for a team and you're not cheering for policy and things that will move you in the right direction, right? You have to, I think you're an idiot if you vote for the same party all the time. I honestly do. Now, that being said, as I get older, I may be voting for one party, but I haven't my whole life, right? So it's just a weird thing where people put themselves in a situation where they think that one idiot has the solution and that person's also not an idiot, right? Like, because everybody's a level of idiot, specifically me.
Okay, and that wraps up the political
Yeah,
portion of the show. Sorry, I took it there.
I wanted to share 2 things. One, and this is not me going, real estate agent says this, because the media has already done that to me twice in the last month, and it hasn't worked out well online. I'll actually share that with you in a sec. But I got an offer on a property tonight that had been on the market for over 30 days, and I sold one last night that had been on the market for 38 days. So all I'm saying is, like, buyers are sniffing around. And they're slowly coming back, and it's very interesting to see this happen because the prices are now, like, I think the thing is a lot of buyers are thinking like, oh, I want to get this big deal on this, but a lot of the sellers going to the market now have already done the price reduction for where it actually should be, and then it's selling.
Yeah.
at the right price.
I know you don't watch my videos, but I know Nolan does. Did you see when I took the plot of the average home increase?
I have your videos on repeat all day long. I just don't have the audio on.
I know you hit the like button. That's it. You just want to look at me. But I took the average and plotted it all on a graph, the average sale per year, and then the increase of, I think it's 5.96% per year as average growth. And then I plotted last month's average home price in the Fraser Valley on that graph. Those numbers met perfectly.
Yeah.
So something is like, and you saw that 2021 drop now, right? Now, that's not the 2022 data, but it is last month's data. So that to me is like, okay, even subconsciously, historically, now these prices make sense.
If we had gotten here today at today's prices across Canada, and you had told us we would have been here 3 years ago, every homeowner would be like, great.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
The problem is we went like this to then go like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, like it just hasn't been a nice, smooth ride. It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I think we get stuck in our ways. And obviously it makes sense. Like, listen, if you bought a property in Toronto in February on a variable mortgage, you're not very excited right now. Like, this sucks. This sucks. You're going to see properties sell for less money. Your payments have gone up by $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
It's going to suck for a little bit. It's going to hurt. So yeah, I don't know.
It is definitely going to, I just don't think it's going to come out how everybody thinks it's going to come out. Right. I don't think we're going to have the doom and gloom in 5 years from now. We'll still be saying, how can houses be this unaffordable and blah, blah, blah. It's all going to be the same thing. Right. What's the thing? Is it, I don't know, one of these ancient Socrates or somebody, and they read his quote about kids and the music that they play. I don't know which philosopher it was, but it was like all about like how some old man was complaining they just don't make music like they used to do. Right. And they were like, oh, that's a 2,000-year-old quote. The more things change, man, the more they stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to be complaining, specifically here in Canada where we love to do so. We're going to be complaining forever about house prices. Never going to change.
I had done the news twice in the last month, and normally I do it and they don't put it on YouTube, but they decided to put these two on YouTube. And the comment section is like, if I'm ever having a good day, I just go there to have a bad day. And I was actually thinking, because like if you just saw the headline, Steve, don't tell them what it is. I want them to go. But I'll give you an idea. So the first interview was the Millennial Report that Royal LePage put out. And they had asked me live on the news, why do you think millennials are so interested in owning real estate? I said, well, they look at their parents, who are primarily boomers, that have gained a ton of equity because they bought something as a roof over their head. And I said, and a lot of them have become wealthy by mistake by owning real estate in like a good way, meaning like things have gone up. And then the title of the video is like, Realtor says Canadian homeowners have become wealthy by mistake. That didn't go over too well. I still stand by what I said, because I don't think a lot of people, not everyone's an investor. You bought a house, you bought a house to live in, and it 5, 6, 7 times in value. And then the other one was, they said, what advice would you give sellers right now? And I said, if I was a seller, and this is in my market in Toronto, in 2022, and I was thinking of selling, I don't necessarily see it getting better this year. And this was before the 75 points. So I would probably do it sooner, if not wait till next year. And then the quote on that one was, Realtor says sellers should do it now. And then the comments were like, yeah, like funeral owner says you should die now too. Like, they were pretty funny, actually. But it's just so funny how no one watched those videos.
Yeah.
All they saw was the headline. And I mean, I think that just sums up kind of like most of what's going on. We're making our opinions off things that we see for a split second.
Totally.
And
Just
we've
like,
talked about this. Like the whole part of YouTube of building the channels is you have to create like the sensationalized headline and then debunk the headline, and that's how you build the channel, right? And people just read you can tell who watched the video and who didn't based on their like. There's somebody I can see in the comment section here who never watches the freaking videos and always comments, and you know, they're on here now watching live, which I find is really interesting. But you know, it's like they just read the headline and comment. And who said someone made a joke about Elon Musk buying Twitter? They said it's like, oh, it was like Jimmy Fallon. He goes, Elon Musk buying Twitter is like buying YouTube and just buying the comment section.
yeah, that's actually a good point.
Totally.
That's a really good point.
I will never be near Twitter ever, ever, ever.
I tried for a bit, but I'm out. I'm going to stick with YouTube. I like YouTube.
We're an hour and 3 in.
Yep.
What do you guys want to wrap, or you want to keep going, or what do you want to do?
I don't know. These people think I'm absolutely loaded at this point, so I think we should keep going until I am.
We'll do another 10 or 15 minutes.
Sure.
If that's cool with everybody.
Let's keep rocking.
If you have market-based questions that have nothing to do with scooters or alcohol, please put them in the comments. And I'm not against wearing a scooter T-shirt on the news. I'm not above that. I would do that.
Does this mean people actually watch our shorts?
They must, because that was a video that went out recently, right? Has they even gone out?
Was this morning? Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe this morning.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows that is watching this now, if you're interested, this will not only be loaded up on the podcast channel, The Tom Storey Show, but we will still also have a regularly scheduled podcast this Sunday morning coming up. So go there and subscribe. We are shooting for 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
Oh, also, we just booked a guest that a lot of people, I'm not going to say who it is here. I'm going to leave it with you guys. We just booked a guest. They'll come out in the next month that I think people are going to enjoy. So that's all I'll say.
I'm very interested to find out who this is. You can tell our prep is really good for this.
I just booked a guest that I will tell Steve eventually who it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell me about the podcast. How's that going? I mean, I've been on it at least once. Now twice.
It's fun, man. Honestly, like from a content perspective of we talk for an hour, there's an audio medium, then there's a video medium. And right now, audio, we're getting 400 downloads per episode ish.
Yeah.
Is that about it?
Yeah.
And the YouTube goes anywhere from, you are still our biggest episode, like just under 5,000 views, but we'll get on average like 2,000 is a low video at this point, which is good for a new channel.
Incredible.
And
actually.
it's been so much fun. And you know what I realized too, and I'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow, but like when you're doing a podcast, you're not there to talk about yourself because you're interviewing a guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guest does all the heavy lifting. Like really, like I normally have 5 bullet points of things I kind of want to talk about.
As he has a drink.
Yeah.
And then,
but honestly, it's been a lot of fun. Like I was a bit worried at the beginning because I was like, it's a big time investment. Have to do it every week. Once you get going, if you get a viewership, you can't just stop doing it one week.
Yeah.
And that you kind of got to record within days of when you post it, or else the information becomes a week behind, which no one wants to listen to.
We have that issue where we do try and, like, if we're going to take a week off, we try and,
we'll do it just me and Steve episode
or whatever. But that definitely gets in the way. The interesting thing, really, Nolan, is the difference in the audiences. So when you go into like your analytics, this audience online is generally obviously they watch for a shorter period of time, but they're generally men. Between 20 and 40, and what was the other thing? Oh, they're I lost my train of thought. So they're men 20 to 40 years old for the most part. Oh, sorry, and they're consumers. On the audio side, it's closer. It's not 50-50 women, but it's much closer. And the amount of realtors that listen is way high. It's almost exclusively
on the audio
side, right? So I figure that's probably busy agents like going around in their cars. And somebody even put a review on Apple that was like, hey, this is kind of like my weekly scrum almost, because they're not on a team, right? They don't have other people to bounce off of. So they're like, I want to kind of hear what's going on with other agents in the market.
They should be in that boot camp.
You know what I was going to say too?
Should be in Tom's boot camp.
Because you talked about how on the YouTube side, if you look at what the analytics are telling us that the viewership's mostly male, it's weird because I just ran the numbers of how many appointments have been booked with me this year through my main channel. And on my main channel, it tells me the same data basically. But it's not this in terms of people that have reached out, it's about 60-40 male. Like the people that reach out to me for calls or appointments or from YouTube.
Yeah.
There's a lot more females than the analytics are telling. So I don't know if something's going on there. I'm not sure.
Mine's mostly, actually, most clients, it is either a couple and the wife is the one that reaches out, or often single ladies as well. Maybe that's our niche.
When you sign up for a Gmail account, I don't remember it ever asking me whether I was male or female.
Well, there's unspecified. I don't know about Gmail, but I mean, Gmail is YouTube.
I guess Gmail is YouTube. That's where they'd be getting their.
It's Google. They know what you search. You're signed in with your account. I guess that would tell them, right? I guess it would give them the best indication of maybe what.
There is one thing that I was unaware of, and I hope this isn't too controversial or whatever, but I have noticed that when we post videos with women being the interview topic, it's a really stupid metric, but the thumbs up, thumbs down button, dramatically more thumbs down.
Which only we can see on the back end.
Which,
because
which I can see. So I'm kind of a little bit like, I've never been that guy, like, thinking that there's any difference between the sexes or anything, but it is something that, and I think it's probably because the YouTube viewer is, again, male, younger, probably quicker to hit the thumbs down button and be an idiot, right? But I was kind of disappointed when I went through, because it was like, you're looking at each one of the, and you're like, why is the thumbs down so great on that video over top of this one? And it was almost consistently the female guests.
They are, but those episodes also get more views. And more downloads. It's interesting. Like, you're still on our number one episode because of the following you have, obviously, and you're a good guest. But, when we have,
you should see me if I drink that whole bottle.
Yeah, but
I think the whole chat's just waiting.
But Melanie's episode, Emma's episode, like, they're some of our highest views and listens too. So it is interesting to just see that, because I wasn't expecting that.
Interesting,
right? Not that it has anything to do with what we're not gonna change anything. We're not gonna start having less people of one demographic or another. We want to try and get everybody's voice.
We want people on there going to have something fun to say.
Yeah, totally. So, but it is something that kind of shocked me a little bit.
Interesting. I mean, my experience in this industry is the best agents, the best like mortgage brokers, they're like powerhouse females. Like, they're just, if there's people that have really amazing insights, it's the women in our industry. It's incredible. Like, my wife's one of them. Everybody that works for me is a female. I've hired some males in the past, and it's just like the females outperform. And we see that with realtors too, like Marnie Campbell in Calgary. I don't think there's a better realtor in Calgary. And the thing is sometimes I wonder, if Marnie was a male, if she'd do 5 times the amount of business. And that sucks that's what our society's at, but it's getting better, I think. And hopefully it will, when you start looking at the likes and the dislikes as time goes on. Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost, I was like a little bit disappointed, right? I was almost like, okay, this is, the trend is there, and it was kind of, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of, I want to judge on the content, and we try and only book people that we think have something interesting to say, and I don't want to necessarily get into positives or negatives. I don't want to give the viewer a bad experience either, but to me, it was interesting to see the mass difference, because you can see the stats in there. The good news is, hey, a bunch of ladies out there, according to the audio stats, are enjoying my nice deep voice. So we got that going on for us.
You actually do have a good voice on the podcast. Sometimes I'll listen to the episodes and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Trash talk.
Because when you're in it, you don't really think, and then you listen back, you're like, you know what? Pretty good, actually.
Real estate. Let's get back to real estate.
Any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up? And by the way, thanks for everyone that's been watching. A lot of you have stuck around this whole time, and we didn't give you like a heads up really that this was happening. So the fact that you jumped on, at 9 p.m. till 10 p.m. at night Eastern time, that's pretty cool.
And if you're, for some crazy reason, watching this on repeat all the way to the end, let us know in the comments if you'd like us to do it again, because I think it would be fun. It was just something we were doing. We're all in town together, so we're like, hey, why not throw this up? And again, more episodes to come. We'll repost this on the proper channel.
And if you haven't already, but you enjoyed this discussion, check out the Tom Storey Show channel and subscribe to us and check us out there, because we post videos every single Sunday, and we appreciate you guys being here. And honestly, like, the chat has been making me smile all night long. And it's nice to know. It seems like, there's a few like things there. Obviously we can't read out, but there's also some like good little humor and jabs, which I appreciate as well. So it's a nice mix.
The humor, when I see actual humor on my channel, I quite like it. As soon as you name call, it's like block, right? Like, it's just not needed.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that you have a little cheekier audience than I do. So I'm going to say I appreciate that. Nolan's channel, however, do not go watch. He's got too many subscribers already. And
it's funny, like, a lot of these people are on my channel as subscribers. I see their comments all the time.
You might have brought them here from sharing this. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Too
That's
cool.
it.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you
me, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Nolan. This was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it. Let's
Thanks
enjoy
everyone for
whiskey.
watching. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do one more wrap. Remember, you can save $200 by using the link in the description for Masters Academy, November 14th and 15th, put on by RRI in Northern Toronto. If you're a real estate agent and you're not at this conference to learn how to do your business better, you're missing out. So check out the link below, save $200, and Tom and I will see you there on the 14th and 15th.
We'll be there. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Remember that when we end the stream,
And then it keeps going for a while.
For a while.
Okay, Nolan, you can chug now. You can chug now.
Let me hit
Let's go.
stop streaming.
No, we know.